Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back. Oh, man. Holy cow. Man, starting off really good. Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to the Bear Market Builders podcast. We're here with episode 10. We're here with Kais, the founder of OK Bears, as well as Bitbirds. What's up, Kais? How are you?
Hey, how are you, Carter? I'm
I'm
good.
I'm doing good. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Um, thanks for coming on, by the way. I love having you as a guest, our 10th guest. That's pretty crazy.
It's an absolute pleasure. I've been watching you, so I'm happy to be here.
I appreciate it. So let's start off with a little bit about yourself. Like, who are you?
I mean, I'm just a bear on the internet. No, I'm kidding. I am a 35-year-old designer living in Australia. I was born in the Middle East, and I just had a standard education path. So I've studied design, art history, and I've also got a master's in branding and identity. And I spent my life just working with startups and medium to large scale businesses that primarily were either wanting to rebrand um, or evolve. So the way I stumbled upon crypto is just through a couple of clients 3 or 4 years before the NFT rush. One of them in particular was building one of the world's first stable coins. So a stable coin backed by gold. It's called the gold standard if anybody is curious. So we built the brand for that, communication and all the rest of it. And so the NFTs then came in as a natural progression because I had my eye on crypto. I was investing in crypto and working with clients working in that space. And we're here now.
Love it. Love it. Oh man, little voice crack there. Love that. So what did you think of Web3 when you just started?
So I had a positive thought and a negative thought. The positive was that, and I wouldn't be the only person to have used that term, but it just felt like an art renaissance. It felt like because working in the design, branding, marketing industry, you often rub shoulders with developers, with sales teams, with CEOs, and no matter how much emphasis they put on the visual side of things, there's always a certain feeling that it comes as a secondary. And then here comes this industry, which is like the perfect marriage of code and art and the financial system. And then the art is like an actual pillar. I wouldn't say it's more important than the others, but at the very least, it was equal. And then you had a lot of people actually interested one way or another in art. And that mainly is more towards like the one of one. But I wouldn't also like discount the huge artistic skill required to make generative collections. So that was like the positive part, which is okay, this feels new, this feels good. It also feels familiar because it kind of combines all my skills together. Where the negative came in when I started trading. So you had to go through the entire process of, if you're interested in whitelist, then you got to grind for it. So you got jumping in many discords, you're exploring different chains. And I'll be very honest, a lot of the culture behind the scenes was not one that I liked hanging out in. Um, and so from that sense, I thought, okay, maybe there's a bunch of people like me that don't really like the current vibe. So maybe we can do something about that. And that's when things started in terms of thinking, okay, let's experiment with some collections. Let's learn. Let's go from the position of a consumer to the position of a creator and see if that feels like a better fit for me.
Yeah, I love that. I can't lie. I've loved Web3 since day one. There's always, obviously there's been negatives, but um, felt like Web3 has opened up a lot of doors, and even day one, I felt like I made a lot of connections just on day one, and I am still making connections, like you. Um,
So when
and
you say day one, even though you're asking the questions, but when you say day one, how far back was that for you? And I'm just curious to know like how you stumbled upon Web3 because we're always talking about adoption and everybody seems to think that we need to target, the 21-year-olds and above because they're working and blah blah blah. But you have a different story.
Yeah. Actually, I should have probably started off with that. My bad. But it was March 2nd of last year. Um, I kind of I decided to send my brother $100 and say, "Hey, can you make me, or can you help me make a Phantom wallet, and can you buy me my first soul?" He was trading NFTs for about 4 months before that, and I always watched him. He's like my best friend. I mean, I just was like, "Huh, this seems interesting," and after that, I bought my first NFT. It was a Dope Cat. I love Dope Cats, and yeah, uh, that's I got started, and then I just started trading off of that one NFT because it was like point. It was like 0.83, so pretty much most of my soul back then, and yeah, that's how we started.
That's awesome, man. That is absolutely awesome. All right, let's keep going. Thanks for the context.
Of course. Um, so when did it really come up that you wanted to be a founder, or how did it come up that you wanted to be a founder?
So I was exploring the space with Subi from the beginning. So we're IRL friends, and he was the one that pointed me in the direction of NFTs. He had, I think, probably for 2 years before that, he would always come to me with certain ideas, either for startups or for apps or for things like that. And there were a couple of things that we actually considered and tried to prototype. So he had always been looking for the next opportunity. Even though he's a mechanical engineer, I find he's got like incredible creative flair. Um, and he's, a much older, much younger head than I am. So when we first started, it was okay, let's trade. And then we were kind of trading together, sharing alpha, picking up NFTs for each other if someone is sleeping, the drill.
Yeah.
And then we kind of sat down and we're like, okay, this is cool. But let's now try to learn the other side. Just literally learning. So there was no, hey, we want to be founders. And that's what kind of Bitbirds was born. Because we wanted to put out high quality art. But that didn't take too much time to create because the space was moving really fast. So, and at the time, Thugbirds was the thing
Oh my god.
on Solana.
I forgot
And
about
so from
Thugbirds.
Thugbirds, there was just, you had SMBs and Thugbirds, and the pixel kind of revolution was happening. And so I'm like, look, Subi, how about we go fully minimalist and try to create the simplest pixel character we can make? And so we started reducing pixels until we were just left with 16, and that's how we created the birds. And as an experiment, we're like, okay, birds eat worms. What do worms look like in 16-bit? And really, that was it. And then we kind of minted 1,000, just genuinely just playing. I think we minted it like $10 a piece. And then we had a tiny little community, some of which are not only bear holders today, but are some of our most active mods and incredible community members. So we kind of got a lot of relationships going from there. So that was kind of the first experiment. And this was the first time people started asking when. And so when we dropped the birds, they're like, okay, you guys, there was this meta of releasing NFT collections in waves. So we're like, okay, the full collection is going to be 3,333. This is the first 1,111. Um, and there's one unique one of one called the King Bird, and then if you mint it, we'll give you some Nike shoes and a jacket with like the bird on it. That genuinely, that was kind of it. So we minted out, and then we're like, you know what? Let's just drop 300 worms uh, to 300 people that hold these birds just out of nowhere, and let's experiment with that. So we dropped that, and people were like, okay, cool. What do they do? We didn't have an answer. And then we got creative, and then we're like, you know what? Well, they battled. And so we had worms and birds battling, and so you would use your bird and your worm very manually. You would send them to us on Discord, and then we'd run a little algorithm. We created a pixel animation, and then we'll send that back, and then you get to watch it, and then you'll find out which one died and which one lived, and then the one that lives gets a golden pixel, which is like an armor, so it gets upgraded to a sir. It all sounds like child's play, right? Because that's what it was. So we're kind of just learning, experimenting, rolling with it, and then we dropped the three waves, and of course, Bitbirds. created a small but tight community of 30, 40 people. Um, so we decided to kind of take the next step and then go from one art style to the other. Really, that was kind of it. It was less about, hey, let's be bigger founders or become influencers or have a following or any of that. It was like, okay, first we trade, then we pixel, then we 2D. Thankfully, we never got to 3D and that meta died. And got revived only by Claymos. But the point is, that's how OK Bears came along. It was just a natural progression of learning in this space.
It's crazy how I don't want to say far Web three has come, but just you saying that like the birds holders had to send them to you manually on Discord. That just makes me think like how crazy and fast this space moves because probably like a year ago that was normal, but now it's just like everyone's building their own sites and stuff like that. It's funny to think about.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's it's just natural progression, hey. And we keep saying the cliche that we're early, but like we actually are early. We're building the tech that's going to sustain this stuff. And as you said, a year, 2 years ago, we were doing all the stuff manually.
yeah, yeah. Um, just like how Web two. I mean, they build up, and now we're building up Web three. Um,
Exactly.
Also, I was gonna say, it's kind of crazy to see the art, the different styles of art from Bitbirds to OK Bears. I love the OK Bears art; it's super clean. Um, so, can you give a little info on OK Bears, like what? I don't want to say holders get, but I guess what holders get, and man, I'm blanking. I'm blanking. I'm blanking. Um,
All right, I'll fill in. I think what you're trying to ask is like, what is the benefit of holding one?
yes, thank you. Oh my
Um,
goodness.
that's okay. Uh, I, I could split that question into two parts. The first part, which was straight after Mint, which kind of explains the craziness. And I think the benefit at the time was genuinely the fact that the 2D art was leaps and bounds above anything that was on Solana at the time. So I would say pixel art was very well taken care of with SMBs. 3D art was very well taken care of by Degen Apes. So you had like two very established um, communities with two distinct styles. And I think one other community that was kicking it at the time were Famous Foxes, but their illustration style is more vector rather than freehand 2D. And so we kind of just looked around and we're like, okay, we got friends in all these communities. We want to build something bigger and we don't want to alienate them. And we don't want to compete with them. We just want to find our lane within this ecosystem. And then the thing that maybe people don't know is we actually lent on the agency, the branding agency that I used to work with. So I went to them and I'm like, look, I need illustrators, I need developers, and I need them for 3 months. I'm running an experiment, and if it works, I'll pay you back. And my boss at the time was super cool. He's like, fine, man, as long as like you're able to deliver for all the other clients, have fun. And so it was me, Subi, and Mandy was our first artist. She actually did the first bear. We treated it like an actual project. It was time boxed. It had professional people working on it that already were working on other stuff together. So we had all the dynamics sorted, etc., etc. So what people bought into OK Bears for was massive hype driven by really high quality branding and art. And then you had that massive run up. The lucky people were able to sell the top, the unlucky ones bought the top. And then from there, that the answer to that question became really murky and muddy because at the time, the the meta was that you create a token and that's what your holders get. And we saw collections on Sol kill it with that. But because we were contacted by IMG 3 weeks in, and the possibility of actually becoming a fully licensed brand in 3 to 5 years was no longer a dream so quickly, we're like, okay, we need to safeguard this project from any legal implications that might pop up. And so we had to say no to hard staking because we didn't want to hold people's assets. We had to say no to tokens. And then we also had to say no to things in the space that we just kind of take for granted because we named them differently. So, for example, we didn't really share private alpha. we used to repeat this statement that bothered some people. We're like, there's no kings and no peasants. Everyone's an okay bear. So we'll just put everything out in public, which didn't sit well with traders with heavy bags who wanted to know what to do next. You couple that with also refusing to have a market making strategy because we didn't think that that would align with what we thought was okay. And then you get a bit of a mess in terms of people that have bought really high with the assumption that this project is going to run exactly like all the others. And then they're faced with a founder that just says no. Um, and that's the turning point, I think, in terms of what came after, which is a bit of a shift in the community. People that bought into the project assuming it was one thing, then had to slowly exit it or fastly exited, damaging the floor price. But then equally, because we didn't fudge any results, people then started buying organically at slightly lower prices because they wanted to be part of this experience, part of this community, part of this brand, which kind of leads us to the day. And today I could probably give you a solid answer on like, okay, what do you get if you hold a bear?
Okay, man, that was a lot. Um, so when you started OK Bears, did you want it to be like its own brand, its own IP? Um, because it's very clean branding, and I feel like you could easily take that to clothes and different stuff inside of Web 2 to bring in people to Web 3. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep. So definitely that was the case. Again, OK Bears was built methodically. So when people say, "Hey, OK Bears are heavily referenced by Bored Apes," we never shied away from that because we're like, that is the highest quality 2D art that we found. And then when people reference some of the branding decisions we took early on, and say, "Yo, that was inspired by Azuki," to us, we're like, yes, we took apart the two leaders in the industry at the time. And we created something that is unique, but then midway between both. And I think that's what contributed to its success. Um, but we also understood the licensing game. So we were like, okay, Bored Apes are incredible. People are picking them up at just crazy prices. But the actual art is hard to license across the board. So you can license it for sports like they did with Adidas. You can license it for alcoholic beverages. You can do it for energy drinks, but you can't put it on kids' lunchboxes and in family stores and all the rest of it. So we're like, okay, we know what the art style is going to be. Now we're going to build the brand and the brand message. And when we first thought of the word okay, it was kind of a commentary on the fact that hey, we're not saying like you need to be some kind of priest or angel or whatever, but equally you don't really have to be fully degenerate. You could just be okay, like just be in the middle. And we're like, this is just the average collection for the average person. And that seemed to resonate with a vast majority of people because 90% of us are average. The 1% of the 1% one way or the other is a small minority. And so there was this massive demand for these characters that people could just associate with because they weren't wearing clown clothes. They just looked like normal, okay, everyday humans that look like bears.
I love the message, behind that, because I feel like a lot of people feel like they have to either be super good at something or they won't do it at all. And I feel like that's what, I don't want to say shies people away from Web3, but I feel like that is one thing because they feel like they're not good enough to make the money and they feel like they're going to lose a lot of money. And it's good to know that.
This is an excellent, excellent comment, Carter. I would say so. I grew up being a massive Kobe Bryant fan, which naturally came with Nike because he was signed with them forever. And I had the like winning mentality at any cost type thing. But growing up, especially when I was your age and a little bit older, I actually ruined a lot of relationships for that. But also, I started realizing that the older you grow, the more, the less likely it is that you're going to resonate with always being the hero, always being number one, always being the best version of yourself. And I really hate the term toxic positivity because I don't think Nike does that at all. But I just think it speaks to the athlete in you, but there isn't an athlete in all of us, right? So where is this brand that is going to speak to the rest of us and say, look, you know what? You're trying your hardest, and that's okay. I mean, it's not okay not to try, but wherever you do land, it's fine if you are doing your best, if you're trying to be your nicest or your strongest or your this or your that. And genuinely, I think that's what will continue to give us an edge moving forward. You touched on clothing. Now, we did promise no hype and only delivery, but we do have a mini clothing line drop that will happen in the next few months. And that's an experiment to see whether the rest of the world is going to resonate with it. So the target audience for that isn't going to be our holders. Yes, of course, they can buy the stuff, but that comes with an Instagram strategy and with an ad strategy on YouTube and all the rest of it. So for the rest of the world, they're just going to click a link and you're like, oh, cool, this is a clothing brand called OK. Look, they say we're all going to be okay. I resonate with this message. I like this T-shirt. I'm going to buy it. It's fairly affordable, and there you go. So that's our strategy to kind of get OK into the mainstream, and I think that's going to be the fastest, most efficient way to do that. But we'll wait for the test and find out.
First, I feel like you guys are going to be like the pudgy penguins of Seoul, like just super clean branding and able to push out a lot of things. Second of all, um, man, I lost it. No, oh, it's so good. Oh, I've learned that, um, thinking you have to be the best at everything, and if you're not the best, you have to, just keep going at something. And if you keep going at something and keep going every single day, and that's all you focus on, you get burnout. And I did this with content. I did this with Twitter Spaces. I was on Twitter Spaces 9 hours a day. It just burnt me out. Then I didn't find it fun. And as soon as you don't find something fun, you don't really want to do it anymore. So I stopped, and it took me a little bit to get back into it, and then I found the love in it again. So I love that you said that, you know, you ruined a lot of relationships when you were young, but what can we do now? And it's always okay to be second. You don't always have to be first. Um, but next question: what has been the hardest challenge of building OK Bears so far?
Okay, two things. The first one was the fact that we spent 4 or 5 months building a specific community, like in the whitelist process. And we got to a stage where we kind of knew everybody and everybody's hanging out in Discord. And because it was a slow burn until we got to Mint, I think it was probably like 2.5 months from start of marketing to Mint. And because of the monster pump that happened in the 2 3 weeks after, it just made sense for a lot of the people to sell. And one of the cultural things we wanted to change with OK Bears is there was never any sell shaming. If anything, there was a celebration that people were kind of winning. And so people would, sell a bear that they minted for $150, they'll sell it for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Then they'll kind of send farewell messages in the fountain in Discord. And they'd be like, I needed the money to pay for my student loan. I needed the money to, I don't know, renovate a family home or pay family debt, which was it was incredible. But what ended up happening is we kind of replaced the organic community that we had with really high profile, heavy hitters mainly from Ethereum with really heavy bags. And the relationship dynamic was very different between both. Um, and I would say it was a very big struggle to try and build a relationship with a different type of audience when, genuinely speaking, looking back at it now, I feel like it just wasn't very brand aligned. So the way that things were expected to happen by people who are very experienced traders and hold millions of dollars in JPEGs were kind of things that we told our community we were not going to do before Mint, right? Because that's how we attracted these people. You're like, there's no grinding for whitelist, there's no floor manipulation, there's no sell shaming, there's no 1 2 3 4. And then you had a bunch of people come in with really, we're talking 500 600 bears, and they're like, okay, I don't know what's next. I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I can't tell you. That's like not cool. So that was a really big challenge. And you can kind of see what ended up happening is we just ended up losing a lot of these people, which is really unfortunate. But I just don't think the whole thing gelled together. I think the second biggest challenge is that on a personal level, I'm an introvert. So like I would much rather not be talking and, either going for a run or reading a book or watching Netflix or just being on my own. Um, and I fought it for a long time. I think it took me 6, 7 months after Mint to be like, you know what? We tried stuff. We hired people to be the face. It just didn't work. You got to step up. And I can't help but think that if I did that learning much earlier, then the first problem probably wouldn't have been a problem. But those are the two biggest challenges.
Yeah, I want to touch on two things you just said there. First, ETH and Soul. I feel like communities in ETH and Soul are two different things. Um, I know people have said this many of times, but I've been in an ETH community. I don't feel like there's as much. I don't want to say family aspect, but it doesn't feel like you're all friends. Where in Soul, I feel like it's all like one big family, and I that's one thing I truly love about Soul. Second, I'm an introvert as well. I talking to people sometimes I'm just like, okay, I I don't know how I do this, but I always get through it, and I'm always happy at the end that I did it, and it makes me feel accomplished to know that I did something that I didn't want to, and that's why I kind of started this podcast is to and streaming, is to learn how to talk to people and not be so introverted, and it's helped a lot. It's helped a lot. So, um, glad to hear that you have got over that introverted hill as well. Um, but
I'm
where?
so happy that you did that early on too. Like honestly, it's really good to see that you kind of pushed against discomfort. And I don't think all introverts can do that or that being introverted is wrong. But if you are in a position where you need to talk to people, you have to learn to be comfortable with it. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. Like there's many career paths where you do not need to be extroverted at all. If anything, introversion is better. But in this space, you have to talk. And if you can't talk, you're gonna do everything a disservice. So it's pretty cool that we kind of share that.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember when I was first in the space. Like I would only be on Discord, like chatting, and I wouldn't go in VCs because I was scared. Also, I was a squeaker then, but that changed. So now now we're here. Um, it's funny how that can change as well in just a year. But where do you where do you see OK Bears in just 3 to 5 years?
Okay. Um, I see the world finding out about us in a multitude of avenues. I do think we're gonna have a solid boutique clothing brand called OK that will grow. That will happen through us producing stuff, but also through collabs with other brands. Um, I think gamers to start with on Fortnite, but across the world are going to start learning about the OK universe in a non-intrusive NFT type way. So we're currently building our first Fortnite map that will bring the entire OK Bears universe to life, whether it's bears, decimals, in the future, Animal X. So that's something cool. And then the plan with that is if it is successful, then we continue map creation not just with Fortnite, but across other gaming platforms, and then offer a slightly different experience there. And those strategies are to literally just get in front of everyone with different interests, because OK works for a very vast audience, and we didn't want to pigeonhole to be like, okay, these things are cute. Let's make kids' toys only. So we want to capture, teenagers and young adults. We want to capture, women and men that like, fashion statements on clothing. Um, but the most important one, and of course, we'll be exploring toys, whether it's collectibles or plush toys. But the most important part, I think in 3 years, I would like us to be taken as seriously as companies like Yuga, as the guys from Mizuki, where OK becomes just widely known across blockchains, and it's just one of the pillars of the space with a certain type of offering that people want to be part of. So I would say that's the 3 year plan. In 5 years, I would like to be in the movies, but that's a conversation for another day.
Ooh. Um, first, map creation. I love that you're going into the Fortnite creative map, creation process, because that is one thing that I feel like can bring a lot of people in. Also, Fortnite pays map creators very well. Um, Even if you're not looking just for the money, um, it's definitely there. It's very nice what they do for map creators.
Yeah, they do. The numbers are good, and it's a sustainable short-term revenue stream, I would say. To give you a bit of context, so this Fortnite thing kind of came out of nowhere because we never were like, yo, we're into gaming. But because we're represented by IMG, which is the same company that represents Fortnite, they told us about the Fortnite Creative Initiative as soon as it launched. And they're like, all the brands around the world are actually building these type of things, but the release dates are between 1.5 to 2 years because that's how long it takes to get through red tape if you're a Disney or if you're a Pixar or if you're etc. So they were like, here's a gaming company that we trust, and we want you to do this. And so we're like, okay, cool. You guys are the experts. Let's do that. What do we get if we make it? They're like, if you do a really good job, then we will get it into in front of the eyes of Epic. And if it is a unique experience enough and players like it, then we can push to get it featured. And then if that does happen, happy days. Because then everybody that games on the platform knows you, but also it opens that holy grail of things in gaming, which is skins. Now, to have an OK Bear skin in Fortnite, it has to be through a collab with Fortnite. You can't just make random skins like you can do games. And if we ever get there, then I think everybody that holds an OK Bear would just lose their mind. Now, I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but this is one of the calculated risks that we're taking that we feel could yield something big, and then the expense isn't, horrifically massive. So that's the logic behind it.
That's definitely alpha right there. I feel like there's an OK Bear skin coming out soon. Um,
Not soon. There's the hope of one, but no. If anybody in the community is listening, then when that map comes out, you guys better play it like 24/7 for a month if you want us to get on Epic's radar. But it is a good plan. The people in place that can make a conversation happen are there. Now it's just the ball's in our court. So we're gonna try to build something super cool, and then we'll go from there.
I love it. Definitely let me know when that map drops because I'll be down to make some content on it. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I love Fortnite. I always play Fortnite like every day. But um, also about that 3 year plan, what is one brand you like dream of working with?
Ah. That's a very good question. All right, I'll give you a small one and a big one. The small one is Bluey. Have you heard of Bluey?
Yes, the the kids show, like the dog.
Yes.
Yes, that show is actually goaded.
So
I'm not gonna lie.
there you go. I mean, it's incredible. And the cool thing is that their office is like 20 minutes away from where I live.
For real?
And if I wasn't in Web3, I'd probably be like just camping there every day, trying to get any kind of job because I just love what they've done. So that's the small one. The big one, it's a cliche, but Nike, there's something about the cultural relevance of that brand, even though it's just sports, that I don't think any other brand has managed to achieve. Like, not Adidas, not any other sports brand. I don't know what it is about it. And I do think a crossover between the two messages could actually yield a really interesting result where it's Nike for the everyday person rather than Nike for the athlete. But this is a pipe dream.
Um, I was gonna say first thing, Bluey. Fun fact: they like their whole show is made of colors that dogs can see. I just learned that. I don't know if you knew that, but I just learned that a couple days
Seriously,
ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was like a fun fact I learned a couple days ago. That's funny that you said that. Um, and then second, that would be a sick crossover because that's a very good message because a lot of clothing that um Under Armour, Nike, Adidas, etc. make it feels like it's just more for athletes, and they always the pictures, advertisements are always athletes. So I feel like that doesn't push people away from their clothes, but maybe it doesn't feel like people get the full experience out of those clothes. So if you did do like an OK, the brand OK X Nike, like you said, I feel like it would be a sick message behind that, because I feel like everyone could wear it and not just the athletes. So that would definitely be sick.
There's one other thing now that you mentioned the athlete thing. Is this is maybe the soppy dad in me, right? Um, but the we always tend to look up to those mythical winning figures, your Kobe Bryants, your Michael Jordan, your Messi, your Ronaldo. Um, but there's something special about just kind of looking around in your life and thinking, there are some people around here, older than me, younger than me, that I can actually look up to. And yes, they're not, out there winning championships, but they're doing some serious shit with like in their job or with their family or with friends or with the community. And my dream is if we ever have ad budget to push would be to try and find those everyday heroes that we just kind of take completely for granted and maybe make them the stars of whatever ads we put out, whatever communication we put out. Um, but again, this is like we're talking 5 to 10 years down the line, and I think to grow there and get there, you're gonna need to lean on some superstars and some athletes to give you that legitimacy. But yeah, it's just you got me kind of brainstorming in a different direction.
I love that. I love that those people are doing something with usually nothing, um, and it shows that you don't need to be some big hero, and you can just be some little guy, and as long as you're happy with what you're doing, and helping others, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think so too.
I love that. If you had to give someone wanting to start a business or project one piece of advice, what would it be?
You have to love it because this is not unique, but the journey to building a business, Web 2, Web 3, Web anything, comes with challenges that you can never foresee. Um, and just when you think that things are going well, some other curveball will happen, or something completely unrelated to you, like a market crash or a competitor just launching something that just makes you insignificant or. And the only way that you would keep at it is if you actually enjoy the work itself. Yesterday I was at a doctor and he was asking some questions and he asked me about my hobbies. And so I sat there and I'm like, I mean, I like watching sports and I play some basketball. And he's like, what, you don't have hobbies? I'm like, well, to be honest, my work is my hobby. Like I love what I do. And he's like, yeah, maybe that's why you have neck pain if if this is how you look at life. But it's so true. Like sometimes, especially when I'm designing stuff, I lose myself. Sometimes, like I miss meetings or spaces because I had my headphones on and I just went into like flow state. And then I look at my watch. I'm like, holy shit! I should have been in this space like 20 minutes ago. Um, and that's my advice. You have to love it because at some point in life you're gonna be pushed to hate things about what you do. And if you want to persevere and make it out, I think you just have to love it.
Yo, that was like the best answer I've ever gotten to that question, because it really, I really relate to that. Um, I always get asked, "What do you do outside of school?" And it's. I mean, I just work. Working is what I do, and it's what I find fun, because I know I meet people like you, and I meet cool people inside the space, and I feel like I have more good friends in Web 3 than I do in Web 2, just because of that. And they're always working, and they see a good future for themselves. So yeah,
I'll tell
it,
you a story, a quick one. So I don't know, maybe your parents and friends won't like it, but when I was 15, 16, I mean, I grew up in one school and I have a solid group of friends, right? So we're now all 35 and our kids know each other. That's how like closely knit we are. But in the early days when Facebook first started, there were message boards, and I joined because I wanted to find people to talk with about Arsenal, the football club in
Hmm.
London. Um, and over the course of a year and a half, I became very good friends with people that I've never seen, whose faces I've never heard. And I would genuinely sometimes be like, you know what, I'm going to skip this outing. I'm not going to hang out with friends, or I'm going to skip this basketball game because I'm sitting here chatting with total random strangers. Now, those total random strangers are some of the friends that I still have until today. And I do believe that those relationships, they're real. They're real to the point that when I got married, people that I never knew, like I've never met in real life,
Hmm.
went and got me like this commemorative stone at the stadium with like my name and my wife's name. It was like, you know, for your wedding, and it's still there today. It's like 15, 16 years, part of like the furniture of the stadium. And that doesn't get more real. And so when people kind of throw the term community around left, right, and center, I'm like, look, man, call me a hopeless romantic, but community is a very big part of why we're here.
Oh, if there wasn't a community, I don't think I would still be here. I'm gonna be honest. I've taken too many L's, but it's okay. There's always people that will cheer me up, and I know I have good friends here. Um, and yeah, I mean that even goes with gaming, and anything else online. I don't feel like it's just Web3 that you can find friends. You can find friends gaming. Like I'm in a group with a bunch of friends that my brother made when he was my age playing COD, and I talk to those guys almost like every day, and
There you go.
like it's yeah. Um, I feel like those guys are true friends. You know what I mean? And I don't really feel like I have too many of those types of friends IRO because I'm always just working. um, but what kind of projects and products do you feel will strive in the next bear or bull market? Sorry.
Oh, that's a good question. It's $1 million question. Forget $100 question. I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't know. I'll tell you why. Because what was working a year ago is not working today. And if by some miracle we find something that's gonna work today, it's not gonna work in the next run. But I do know this. I think collections, projects, brands that are able to create more product. It's a bit of a like this is a hot topic now where you're like, oh, you're gonna make new NFTs, so you're diluting the whatever and exploiting the all the other bullshit.
Yep.
But if we're serious about digital collectibles, what makes a collectible is its perceived rarity. Um, and so if we're going to continue down the same path of make one character, mint 10K of it, then make another one, mint 20K of it, um, I just don't think that's going to capture people's attention. So our hypothesis, if you want, is that by creating more art, but not but limiting it to a small number of NFTs, you continue to be relevant every 2 to 3 months because you're in that cycle of mint, whitelist, market, mint, whitelist, market, but you're not pumping out 20K, 30K collections. You're just dropping a 1K collection and then you go to the next one and it's completely different. And so at the very least, it's going to keep your super fans happy because if I don't know, you know, what you like at your age, but if Pokemon come out today and say, yo, we're never going to make any more Pokemon characters ever. That's it. It's done, finished, pack up because we need to keep the rest
They
unique.
would
As
pump.
a as a Pokemon player, I'd be like, that sucks. Like imagine if we didn't get Gen 2 and we were just stuck with 150, right? I want my favorite creators to make more things. You know, I want Nike to make more campaigns and ads and drop more products that I can buy, and you know, another fucking colorway of a Jordan shoe that looks all the same because I love Nike and I love Jordan. And so I think the people that will thrive, or the projects that will find a good balance between continuous creation um in limited numbers, even when the bull market comes. Because I think if the bull comes and we revert back to the 10 and 20K, I feel like it might generate a lot less revenue for holders and teams than smaller collections by brands that are now sought after. So like if Yuga wake up tomorrow and say we're dropping another PFP, okay, and this one's going to be a, I don't know, a cat, the entire world is going to be like, holy shit, I need to get my hands on it. Now, if they go and mint 100,000 of these, that's going to be one way. But if they go and say, actually, we're only making 500 or 1,000, the floor price on that thing is going to skyrocket because demand is already part of the ecosystem and it's going to make things more valuable. However, it doesn't make sense for art teams to spend 3, 4 months making art and then only minting 1,000. So I do think that's a very elite way of building in Web3, and that's our hypothesis. We're going to try do that, and then you can watch us either succeed or fail.
Yeah, I do agree with you that I feel like projects that are gonna be pushing out content, but they're gonna find that right range of not pushing out too little content, but also not pushing out too much content. So they're gonna find that good median, and also push something out probably every couple weeks. I mean, in the bull, because everything feels like it moves 20 times faster in the bull. Um, but yeah, that was really good analogies though, with the supply and demand stuff. So props to that. Um, so I asked earlier, what's been the hardest thing about being a founder? What's been your favorite thing about being a founder?
The people, man, genuinely. Um, the maybe not all holders, and maybe not even the majority, but there's like 80 or 90 or 100, 150 people that treat OK Bears as if it's their own. They feel the same amount of pain we feel. They get the same amount of excitement. They have the same amount of conviction. And that would be just absolutely impossible to achieve without Web3. At this stage in a startup's life, you probably go and get some funding. You'd sit in a garage somewhere, build the next product, and then put it out. And then, hope to dear God that people will like it. And here you have people that are so heavily invested financially, which is not a bad thing, but also emotionally in the success of a product, um, that it makes it feel a lot less lonely to build. And it makes failure harder because you have more viewpoints, you have more opinions. And I know, again, the the trending topic at the moment is you don't like ask the community what you build and you don't design by committee. And that's not what I'm saying. But to have 100, people who just wake up every day, use the bear as their profile picture, tweet GM, interact with each other all day, and then go on to look after the kids in the evening and go out with their significant others or whatever, um is really what it's my favorite thing. As you said, I think if there was no community, if this was like a token in 2018, it would have been hella boring. So yeah, I think the people are my favorite part.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit more deeper in that as well. I feel like the people here, you never feel alone. You know what I mean? There's always someone to talk to about something, no matter if that's something you need help with, something in your IRL life. I don't want to say IRL life because this is IRL life, but you know what I mean.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
and there's always someone to help you, and I truly love that because say we are in Web 2 only, and you don't really have too much contacts. It's kind of hard to get help from people around you. So that's definitely
I think so too.
one of my favorite things.
I've seen holders talk to each other about like health issues, parenting issues, work issues, mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those conversations are real and they're raw. And the coolest thing about them is you kind of, you put your phone away and then all of these people disappear, which kind of makes it feel safer. If you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
they're not really part of your life, but they are part of your life. So it's easier to kind of open up. Yeah, I think, yeah,
Yeah, if they,
people are special,
if
man.
they make you mad, you can just click your lock button on your phone. Boom, poof, they're gone. Um,
Yep,
I've definitely had to do that with some
yep. I
people.
can't,
some
I
FUD.
can't, I can't.
I'm just like, man, okay, that's enough. Boop, it's gone.
I
But
mean, it'd be cool if I could do that like with my wife for like 5 minutes, but no, I'm kidding. Okay.
oh man, it's that way with like siblings sometimes too, man. Holy, you're just like, man, I just need some space, bro.
Yep, yep. I feel you.
uh, but I feel like I kind of know the answer to this, but how do you plan to draw people into Web three through OK Bears? I feel like we already went over a lot of ways, but if there's any ways that you want to add, go ahead.
Um,
Obviously, like
I think
outside branding, clothing like that, and then the maps as well, stuff like that. But
it's a good question. I'm going to give you a different answer. I feel like adoption will only really come if big companies make it part of people's lives. And I'm saying that because a fundamental part of Web3 is tech that is very hard to use for the general public. Um, and so where I see us playing a part is in opening those conversations at that level or at that size, and then becoming partners with these people, becoming enablers for massive companies to come into Web3 and then bring people with them. I don't think this is a popular answer, but genuinely speaking, like if you wake up tomorrow and then suddenly you can buy and sell NFTs on Facebook Marketplace with fiat, everyone's going to turn around thinking, what the hell? Like,
yeah,
okay, I just clicked two buttons. Now I have this thing. Um, that is much more realistic than saying, yo, we're going to sell 6 million items of clothing for like $40 each. And then that's magically going to make somebody who still doesn't understand the tech go online and buy a bear for $1,000 or an ape for $20,000. I just don't think that is a viable like path. So I feel like we probably need to be the stewards of Web3, and help the masses come in through the means that are currently accessible to them. It might not sound sexy, and it sure as hell isn't decentralized, but that's a different conversation.
yeah. I feel like the pioneers of Web three are gonna be more of my generation and the generation below me, and that's because we have grown up with phones. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, the generations older than us, they didn't grow up with phones. They don't really. I mean, they still don't know how to use some technology, and that even goes with older people. Um, Technology just doesn't make sense to them. So I feel like when we're gonna see people come in to Web three, it's gonna be more younger because you can walk outside and go into Walmart and see a 6 year old with a phone. Um, but a couple years ago, you didn't see that. So that's how I just feel more people are going to be brought into Web three. Um, just the people that
Yeah, I
understand
think you guys
technology
are
more.
definitely native to the tech. I would say it'll be the same because I wasn't the first generation that used computers, but I was the one that grew up with them. And it's, people that are currently my age that founded Web 2. Your Facebook and your Google, because those weren't the first iterations of things in Web 2. That's what we forget as well. Like before Google, there was Yahoo, and before Facebook, there was MySpace, and before those, there were others. So there's also this like sense of entitlement that I feel founders have that we should need to shed. Like the final version of Web3 might not have any of us in it. Like the next bull run could come, people with much better ideas and fresh outlooks can literally just trump everything that exists, Yuga included, because that's how massive Yahoo was before Google came along. So I agree. I think whatever this current version is like it's not even a beta version. And I think the final form is probably around 5 to 10 years from now.
Yeah. Um, that's crazy to think about. In 5 to 10 years, like I'll be like 17, no, holy cow, 19. Um, and I'm still gonna be young. It's gonna be really fun to
Yeah,
watch.
19 to 25. That's a good yeah.
By then I'll have like 13 years of experience. That's crazy. That's it's fun to watch though. And then going into younger people as well. How do you think projects should um, should try to draw in younger audiences? What do you think they should focus on? And that's
Good
also probably
question.
a conversation I can, you know, butt into as well. Um, just
I mean, look, the gaming thing is probably one thing. You got hyped by the Fortnite thing. It's
such a
probably the
Fortnite kid.
most excitement I've sensed. There you go, like out of everything else that I've said. So I think we just you're already here too. So I don't know if you have Bear or not, but I promise you, once you go and play that game, it's gonna make you want one just because you're like, holy shit, this thing from Web3 is now in my Fortnite. This is cool. And I think we need to keep you guys in mind. Like, what are the things that you're currently interested in? I don't think you would give two shits about a plush toy,
um,
right?
no, there's a lot of people though. Have you ever heard of plush mellows?
Yes, my
Those
kids
are
go
massive,
bananas for them.
and I feel
But
like if
even
you
for 14-year-olds,
would you what'd you say?
even for like your age, like I would assume it would be for a much younger audience, no?
No, there's a lot of people that collect them.
Whoa.
There's a ton of people that collect them. Older. I know people like
Okay.
20 something that collect them still. Um, I'm like, wow. But yeah, that's something that I've seen a
So, I
lot.
mean, it shows me that number one, there's no right answer. But number two, we need to be exploring all those avenues at the same time rather than dismiss some, which is why we are working on plush toys. But in my head, it's always been, yo, you're going to buy it for a 7 or 8-year-old. This changes things. But the point is, I think we need to put more of our existence around you guys, like in the periphery. Like if you're watching YouTube and you don't pay for YouTube and an ad pops up of like an okay clothing line, you go like, holy fuck, I was just talking to the founder. Those clothes things, like this comes from NFTs, and people look at you like, what the hell are you talking about? It's just a clothing company, you see? And so the more contact we can have in different aspects of the everyday life of the people that are 10 to 15 to 20 today, then this brand is going to be nostalgic for you guys, like Toy Story is for me, or Spider-Man. Like I took my kids to into the multiverse because I wanted to watch it, but of course they
That
can
movie was so
associate with it
good.
too. But the point is, you will then love this brand so much as you grow that you're going to bring your kids into it, and that's how you become part of culture. And those things don't happen in a year, they don't happen in 2 years, they don't happen in 5 years. So it's just like, who's got the longest breath to keep going and really do what it takes to become a brand? Because we throw that word around so loosely, but a part of a strong brand is time. Like that is a fundamental aspect that you cannot speed it forward, you cannot hack it. um yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, by the way, that movie was amazing. I loved going to that. I went with it. I went to with some friends and saw it. Uh,
Yeah, it's
can't wait.
incredible.
Can't wait for the next one. Hated the cliffhanger though. Um,
Yeah, it's cool. It was really, really cool. And they kept everybody interested. I mean, people your age, my 5-year-old, everybody was just like sitting there. I mean, for it's like deliciousness in the eyes. Like just looking at the
the
movie
colors
on
were
mute is beautiful.
yes,
Exactly,
yes.
exactly.
Okay. What has kept you going through this bear market?
Um, w- the first thing is that I'm not a quitter, and I enjoy when things get tough. So again, growing up, I'm one of those kids that would never use cheat codes in games just because I needed to get to the hardest level and win. So, like for example, I work out now, and friends have been like, "Yo, if you take this or you take that, you're gonna speed the thing up." I'm like, "Nah, I wanna wake up in a year and I wanna look at my six pack and be like, I earned these,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, I
exactly.
didn't just fake my way through it. And I think this is why I've been saying I love this part of the market, because this is the grit, this is the double down, this is the hard part. And I enjoy it when things get hard. So yeah, I think this is where the fun happens, and the stakes are high. This is where projects live or die. But you know, that's fun. For me, it's fun.
Yeah, I agree. I love when things, have to like climb mountains to accomplish something because it makes you feel more accomplished about yourself. It doesn't feel like, oh, I cheated my way through this. I did that. I did that. Also, I feel like I have a lot of people to prove wrong. That's another reason I'm here. I feel like I gotta show those people that always told me when I was 12 here, you're not gonna do anything. In the next couple of years, I feel like I might show them. They might have to eat their words, which I'm excited for. Also, I feel like
Look, proving doubters wrong is good motivation. Um, as long as you don't let it overburden you. I
yeah,
I look at it a little bit differently. So for me, it's less about proving people wrong. I don't know. I've got this good skill of just ignoring doubters. Um, But what drives me is winning with the people that are on my team now. So you know when in soccer a goal is scored and the entire stadium just erupts and people,
yes,
random strangers, hug each other.
yeah,
That's that's what drives me. I want to see my holders celebrate like that. I can give two shits about the doubters. That's not what I'm here for anyway. And they'll turn once they see everybody celebrating. They were like, shit, I need to be part of that team too. And at that stage, I had ignored them all along, so I didn't burn any bridges. And then, they're welcome to come in. But yeah, for me, what drives me is more like this group goal celebration. We just got to get a few.
yeah, for sure. I do love that. I do. I feel like I try to see more people succeed than myself, and I feel like that is one thing that I haven't um done. Feel like I haven't reached my full potential just because I'm focusing on helping others more than myself, which isn't a bad thing to be honest. I would rather see others win than myself, but I feel like these next couple months will be big, and who knows? Who knows? Um, but Heist, that's all I have. If you have any questions for me, go ahead. You can ask. I don't have any further questions for you. It was very fun. It was very fun.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, what, give me three collections that you think are super cool or super appealing, and tell me what is it that you don't like about OK Bears.
Okay. First, I like Klano, just because I love the moving art and I love the colors on their Klanos. I feel like they did really good with the colors. And I love that it's basic too. It's like 1 to 2 colors each, and it's very clean. So Klano for the art. Um, man, and it's not. I love OK Bears too. I love the art. I've always said this. I've just never had the liquid to buy one. Um, since day one, I tried to mint, and oh, you know how that went. But
Yeah.
um, man, that's tough. It's very tough. I like Mad Lad's art. It's very clean as well. I just like simple art. And Bodogos. That's a third one as well. Bodogos.
Okay.
Bodogos are very clean.
Yeah, I think they got a really cool thing going with the size of the dog versus the size of the profile crop.
Yeah,
The face actually fills the whole thing. It's quite smart. And Easy's a nice guy.
I love Easy.
All right, tell me one thing you don't like about bears, and then we can leave on a sour note.
Oh, yay. Um, man, I don't even know. I can't even say anything bad about Bears. I'm gonna be honest, because like it looks so good on a PFP as well. I was gonna say, oh, maybe the PFP size. No, it looks good. Um, man, and all the traits look really good. Like they fit perfectly.
Maybe it's not the art. Maybe it's like something, I don't know, how we carry ourselves.
Bro, you carry yourself really good. This is I haven't had this much fun on a podcast like ever. What? Um,
That's cool, man.
I
Thanks.
don't know. And like you always show love to the community too. Like it's hard. Um, man, I'm just looking at like Twitter and stuff too. Oh, you know what? One thing. What are these? What are they? The founders, uh, coins thing. What are those?
Yeah, so those were it's an interesting experiment, but basically we experimented with NFTs that are worth their weight in gold. So like one attribute of these coins is weight, and then so let's say you've got 1 gram on the coin, that means we've purchased 1 grams of gold and put it in a safe. And then at a later date, people can redeem it for the value of the gold if they want to, if they want that. But they're already like way higher than the value of gold. So it was this like little experiment of, hey, this happens in gold coins in real life where people value the art more than the metal.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of did that for founders coins. And moving forward, I think it's been a really good way for people to enter the community at a really really low price because you get full access to Discord. You can hang out with everybody. There's like literally just one channel that is um like reserved for holders and it's not active because from day one the community's like, if you hold a coin then you're part of the community, we welcome you in, and it was their vote to have everything in that one spot. And moving forward, I think that's what's going to allow us to grow as a community is the fact that you don't need to drop 30, 40, 100, 200 soul to be part of OK Bears. You just grab a coin, it's got a cool bear on it. You could PFP it if you want to. They fit the same style as Bodogos, and it's a much much lower barrier to entry.
Oh, okay. Thank you, thank you. Man, I'm still lost on the what do I not like about bears. I'm gonna be honest. Like you guys do really good. I need
I
to
will
get
let you off the hook.
I need
You
liquid and
you,
then I'm
you should
buying.
DM me that though.
Yeah, if I think of something, I'll DM you.
Cool. Well, look, man, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it too.
Of course.
You have some calmness that I didn't have when I was your age. I enjoyed the questions. And I'm going to enjoy watching you win in the space, whether it's next month or next year. Just keep at it. This is the time where the filtration is happening. And I think whoever stays at the end is going to be one of the people that are going to lead the next wave. So just stay at it. Don't overdo it. Look after yourself. Miss a few spaces if you want to. Yeah, and just have fun. Just keep having fun.
I appreciate it.